Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Kate.
And you're listening to Cohesive Home Podcast, Episode 1. Cohesive Home is a podcast for families seeking a more intentional life. Looking for inspiration to create your ideal family culture and home? Join us, two best friends and laid-back minimalists from opposite ends of the country, as we chat about all things parenthood, living simply, and crafting a happier home.
In this episode, we'll be chatting about our definition of minimalism, why we started Cohesive Home, and how you can participate in future podcasts.
When we first met back in spring of 2013, I was really exploring the idea of minimalism. I checked out stacks of books from the library, and I was trying to figure out how to make it happen in our home. I knew I wanted to simplify our lives, but I wasn't sure how, and I didn't really know anyone else interested in it.
And at the time, my husband Kirk and I were already simplifying our home and really experimenting with living with just enough and nothing extra. We had this desire to reorient our lives to things that matter, our relationship, our kids, our goals for the future, and living creatively and adventurously. Owning and taking care of too many things or spending money we shouldn't on stuff that doesn't matter, all of that distracted us from what we truly valued.
My family sold nearly all of our things, including our house, to move to Germany for my husband's teaching job. It was the adventure of a lifetime, allowing us to explore a new culture and visit friends in France. We wouldn't have been able to pick up and move internationally if it hadn't been for minimalism. But honestly, I have a bone to pick with the word minimalism. It is a very popular word right now, and I really think it guilts people into getting rid of nearly everything they own to fit some radical idea of the word minimalism. And yes, that is what my family did. We got rid of all of our stuff, but it was a unique situation. Kate and I view minimalism as actually referring to the way you use your time, the number of responsibilities you do or don't take on, and choosing what you do own deliberately.
Cohesive Home truly developed out of our conversations around minimalism, envisioning what minimalism would actually look like for real families with, normal stuff, and how to make that happen. We both desired community as we transitioned to intentionally simpler lives, and we really couldn't find anything out there that met our needs. We wanted to see how other minimalist families lived, what they prioritized, and how living simply changed their families for the better. Basically, we wanted to feel inspired.
Last summer, Kate asked me if I wanted to go to Storyline Conference with her in Chicago. Yeah, getting away without kids in an awesome city? Count me in. But it wasn't until we went to the conference together and talked about our desire for a community like that we realized we could help fill that void.
And for those who aren't familiar, Storyline Conference is put on by Don Miller and his team. It's part life planning and part inspiration for your journey. To be honest, we had no idea what to expect going in, but we definitely left inspired.
As soon as our car pulled out of the conference parking lot, we began planning a minimalist community for intentional families. We realized that although there are a lot of resources and how-tos for minimalism, so much of it has to do with going to extremes. Now, not that owning 100 belongings or less isn't okay if that's your thing. It's just really hard to find other families who also desire a simple life. So our goal is to broaden the definition of minimalism to include all ends of the spectrum.
And we also knew from the start that Cohesive Home would never be just about minimalism, because what's the fun in that? Minimalism is a tool to create the family culture that you want, but it is never the destination. Last summer, my family and I sold nearly all of our belongings and our house to move cross-country and live by the beach on Lake Michigan. We love spending time outdoors and traveling as much as we possibly can. So we completely changed our lives to reflect what we value as a family. And since Melissa's family is also interested in creating memories around shared adventures and travel, we knew that that would be a core idea of Cohesive Home as well.
We want to raise our kids to be explorers, to be knowledgeable about the world around them, and to encourage their curiosity. And on another note, after we moved back to Oklahoma from Germany, we were able to better define what we value most. And for us, that was living close to family and having the opportunity to put down roots in our community. Now, I don't think everyone needs to move internationally to figure out what they value most, but it seemed to help us. So Kate and I also decided that helping other families define their values would be an important part of Cohesive Home.
But we also knew that minimalism by itself does not work. You may quickly declutter your home and call it a day, but it takes intention to actually live a simple and purposeful life.
Both of our families discovered that we kind of have the tendency to always look forward to the next big thing, as if life is only made up of the major events. But when we thought about it, we realized that some of our happiest moments are when we find contentment with the day-to-day and fully embrace our lives how they are, right now.
And I would definitely say that one of the ways we tend to lose focus on having a purposeful day is being distracted by our tech devices. So the last piece of the puzzle for us, when thinking of what a cohesive home would look like, is reducing our technology usage as a family so that we can simply be present with one another. We already knew that if our kids had too much screen time, they acted crazy. And so Melissa and I are big fans of our kids spending lots of time outside. But a hard truth for us was also realizing how much time we spent on our phones in front of our kids.
We definitely don't want to preach to our kids about the virtues of playing outside while we stare at our phones, right? So the goal is to use technology judiciously while adding in new family traditions and rituals. Basically, finding ways to elevate the everyday routines to create your own special family culture and lessening the need for technology to fill your time. So we want to encourage you as you think of ways to add unique family traditions in your own home.
So as we wrap up our very first podcast, we want to leave you with a few things to think about. If it feels right, jot your answers down. First, what would you say your family values most?
And second, what are you doing today to live those values? And if your day-to-day doesn't align with your values, what needs to change?
And one more thing. Although Melissa and I are hosting this podcast, it is not the Kate and Melissa show. Cohesive Home is more than just an Instagram account or a podcast. It is really a community for you and your family to find support on your journey toward living a more intentional life. And we want to encourage you on that journey, whatever it may look like.
But we can't make this show for you without your help. So send us your burning questions about implementing a new lifestyle. Share with us your stories and tell us what you need from this community. You can email us directly at cohesivehome@gmail.com or just private message us on Instagram. We love to have conversations with everyone in the community. And make sure to subscribe to the Cohesive Home podcast on iTunes to catch the latest episodes. And sign up for our email list on our website, cohesivehome.com.
On the next episode, we'll talk about how to handle generational clutter. The stuff family hands down, things like china and old furniture that no one knows what to do with. We'll talk about how to preserve the memories without keeping the stuff. If you have a secret storage unit or are holding on to family heirlooms out of guilt, this next episode is for you.
Thank you so much for listening to Cohesive Home Podcast, Episode 1. We'll see you next time.